Today I want to open your eyes to a set of problems that are facing endangered species worldwide. A set of problems that you probably aren't currently aware of, but that affect you and they affect me and they affect the animals that I'm going to talk about. This is Sudan. He was the last male northern white rhino, and he passed away on March 20th of this year. When Sudan passed away, the news reverberated around the world. A lot of people saw this as a very depressing loss, and that there was no more hope for this species. But the truth is that there still is hope for this species. Even with the last male gone, they have worked to preserve Sudan's genetic material and previous male rhinos' genetic material, and there are 2 remaining female northern white rhinos, which are Sudan's daughter and granddaughter, and they are trying to work to artificially inseminate those females to be able to help this population live on. Now, Sudan was guarded 24/7 by these park rangers that you can see, and even with 4 men with guns surrounding him at all times, there was still attempts on his life because of the demand for rhino horns, which are used for medicinal purposes in a lot of Asian medicines. And rhino horns are actually made out of the same thing that our hair and fingernails are made out of, which is keratin. It has no medicinal value, and people might as well be making toenail soup to cure their ailments. And so a lot of what can help this species and other rhino species recover is education to people and better public policies on wildlife trade in order to ensure this species' future. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about gorillas. There are 4 subspecies of gorillas in the world, and every single species is endangered. And they're all endangered for one main reason, and that is logging and mining. And a lot of this logging and mining is for a mineral called coltan. And this mineral is pretty important in our daily lives. It helps make sure that our cell phones stay charged. It's found in every single cell phone, and the demand for this mineral is definitely going up as the cell phone industry is booming and growing, and there's new cell phones put out every single year. The average person has 2 cell phones sitting at home that they don't use, that just stood in a drawer gathering dust. If people were to recycle these cell phones and help that mineral get back into the system and to be reused for new cell phones, then we can help limit the amount of mining that needs to be done in the natural habitat of gorillas. And maybe if we're recycling enough, we could even eliminate that mining and help this habitat and this species recover. Now I want to tell you a little bit about elephants. Elephants are one of those animals that you grow up learning about. Everybody worldwide knows what an elephant is. And they're one of those iconic animals where if you go to a zoo, the first thing you ask is, where's the elephants? Or I want to go see the elephants. But a lot of people don't know that elephants are facing major endangerment issues. There's actually 96 elephants killed every single day in Africa. And they're actually being killed for their tusks. Their tusks are made out of ivory, and some people think that they shed their tusks, or that people can gather them like you would with antlers from deer. But the truth of the matter is they are attached to the elephants. They're modified teeth, And if you're taking their tusks, you're taking the elephant's life. So it's a very unsustainable market, and there's a huge demand for ivory, even in the United States. The United States is actually the second largest consumer of ivory worldwide, and second only to China. But the really cool thing is that there's really cool groups like one called 96elephants.org, and they're working to promote better policies on wildlife trade and ivory trade, and getting more bans in the US on ivory trade, old ivory and new ivory, and helping this market so it doesn't grow and it's not increasing the demand for the tusks and making it so that elephant populations are decreasing. Now, the next animal I want to talk to you about is orangutans. Orangutans are another one of those iconic species that everybody knows. They are very critically endangered right now because of deforestation for palm oil plantations and other agriculture plantations. A lot of what happens with these orangutans is companies will go in and burn down a section of forest, which is these animals' homes, and it forces them to move out, and a lot of orangutans actually get stuck in the fires as well. This has made it so that 50% of orangutans actually live outside of the protected areas that they're supposed to be living in, that they always have lived in their natural habitat. So now they're getting into people's agriculture lands, and there's been a lot of conflict between the people there and these animals, because orangutans will destroy their crops, and it's just causing a lot of issues. Orangutans also are part of the illegal pet trade. There is a huge demand for orangutans in the Asian pet trade, and this is also causing their population decreases, because it's estimated that about 3 to 5 orangutans are killed for every single one orangutan that makes it into the pet trade. This just shows the large, expansive amount of issues that are facing animals, and how there's a lot more to each of their stories than you can see on the surface. A really cool thing that a lot of conservation groups have been doing is making lists and apps that show you what companies are using sustainable palm oil rather than palm oil that is made through taking away orangutans' natural habitat to plant palm oil trees. So by doing that, they've been able to help people reach out to companies that aren't using sustainable palm oil and help encourage them to use sustainable palm oil, and help this habitat grow and flourish and stick around so that orangutans have a place to live. Now I want to tell you about my favorite conservation story, and that is the story of the Amur leopard. About 20 years ago, there was only 20 Amur leopards left in the wild. And since then, the community has come together and they've realized that Amur leopards are very important in their ecosystem and that they are worth protecting. They have actually set apart an area of land as a national park for these Amur leopards, and there's more protection for them today than there ever has been. And their population is growing a lot. So they went from having 20 years ago to today in the national park. They've been able to count 84 adults and 19 cubs, which is really exciting, and it shows the impact that a community can have on trying to create some political change and some policy changes to protect a species in their environment. Which brings me to my final species, us, humans. We really are the solution to all of these problems and to many more problems that are facing endangered species worldwide. By promoting sound public policies and environmental policies, then we can support a healthy environment with healthy populations of these species and other species alike. We can also share these stories and more stories and issues facing populations worldwide through social media or even just by talking to our friends. And that way we can come together as a community to help make a difference for the animals that really need our help. These animals are an important part of their ecosystems, and they help support a broader worldwide ecosystem which supports us and our health. So by supporting endangered species and their populations, we're ultimately supporting ourselves and our children and protecting not only these animals' future, but our future as well. Thank you.